Hi, we're here to talk about the nature-based solutions in transportation project. I'm Otis Almson from V-Trans, joined by
Austin Byers from Stanton.
and I'll start, and then Austin will take over the second half of the presentation. So, quick overview. As we all know, flooding has been a major issue here in Vermont recently, and also going back several years. And we know that nature-based solutions can be a cost-effective way to prepare for the next flood to do some of this resilience work. But we don't currently have here at V-Trans a sort of standardized, formalized way of looking at nature-based solutions for our projects as one of many alternatives. This project aims to sort of fill that gap. So the goal of the project is to do exactly that, provide several resources. Austin will get into a little more detail on those for project designers, for V-Trans staff sort of across the project delivery process, to be able to consider nature-based solutions options in their projects, and also to lay out the process for where in that process we should be looking at these resources to help inform our project design.
Sure, I think so. Yeah, so just a little bit about nature-based solutions for those that may not be familiar, right? So this is the idea of engineering with nature as opposed to kind of, looking at just gray infrastructure, right? So think about it, whether it's just riprap or concrete, right? And getting away from those practices and more towards green or green-gray solutions. And so what we're doing is I'll talk a little bit about the suitability index, the nature-based solution suitability index first, which is the sort of geospatial part of this. And then the second part of this task is looking at developing an e-catalog, right, which is going to be kind of a menu of potential solutions that could be implemented at the project level. And then here at the bottom, you'll see sort of this is in V-Trans process, looking where this would be integrated would be sort of in the definition, project definition stage, where we'll look at the NSI first, and then the catalog from a planning level. All right, so a little bit about the Nature-Based Solution Suitability Index. We set it up at the same scale as the TRPT, so the Transportation Resiliency Planning Tool. That's just so that they can be integrated seamlessly. That's essentially road segment level, looking at about 50 feet on each side of the center line. What we looked at were these 5 categories here below, partly because that's the data we had available. And also we had to kind of look at that data and see how much the range of that data would be and then also standardize it. But what we're looking for is really co-benefits, right? So are there degraded watersheds that we can improve water quality, operational considerations? Are there a bunch of undersized culverts? Also attribute-based in the sense of like, is the stream power so significant that a nature-based solution just maybe not be appropriate in that particular scale? And so the geospatial model had basically proximity, overlap, and then attribute were the 3. And so with that, again, fundamentally it assumes that a project is already occurring. Then you're able to look at the nature-based suitability index and say, okay, it kind of helps you prioritize and say this might be a good location based on the proximity of a water body and all these different categories that we had up on the previous screen. And then from there, each project's going to be unique, but we kind of looked at these 5 nature-based solutions here: stream and river restoration, floodplain reconnection, wetland creation enhancement, lakeshore restoration enhancement, and then green infrastructure. And again, these are some of the vulnerabilities up here at the top, right? Erosion. So it's not, I'm sure if you drove here like I did this morning, you're driving down a valley that probably didn't have a road in it at one point in time, or a railroad, right? So half of that valley is now available for flood flow. And you get a lot of where the stream or the river wants to meander into the embankments, debris on bridges, things of that nature, right? So this is looking at these to be able to, from a practitioner standpoint, to be able to look and say, okay, I think that, one of these solutions is appropriate. And then from there, we get elevated to the next level of design. So up next is the pilot process. So right now we're in the process of looking at actually integrating these into the project definition and project delivery stage. Is there anything else for this?
No, okay.
Be around. Again, feel free to stop by, ask us how, about nature-based solutions, how they can get integrated into your project, or if we want to get under the hood a little bit on the geospatial side as well, that's fine as well. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hold one moment while I investigate the sound. If we have any questions, so the last presentation is a video from someone who is in two places at once today at this time. So I'll get this pulled up in just a second, but if we have any other questions for the presenters that are here, we do have a couple of minutes for that.
Sure, just curious, I should probably. How have you been, did your advisory committee or did your kind of development of the project include folks from throughout V-Trans that would later be hopefully the practitioners so that they would kind of be on board and understand the rationale behind?
Yeah, so we have a pretty large advisory committee. We tried to cast a pretty wide net for exactly that reason. It includes across sort of the V-Trans, asset management, project delivery, planning, of course. And then also we've had a couple sort of focused groups on particular portions of the project. So as we get into where in the process does this occur, we reached out specifically to people on sort of the delivery and design side and trying to get as much feedback as possible. And also including people from outside V-Trans, especially in our area. So the Europe's program.
Nice. It's
so it's been about a year. It started and around this time last year actually, and we're going to have by the end of December. This through is on the slides to the State Transportation Innovation Councils.